I'm trying to put back on the 10 pounds that I lost in the last 12 weeks. Plus, I got a big race coming up on Sunday that I need to make sure that my carbohydrates, sodium, potassium, etc., is topped up for.
Hiding in the bungalow, she felt so young. The night she was much younger than the other. Feeling like a prisoner there in the light. She stood, she knew they couldn't miss her. And then they took her as her, walked over life play. You wrote to me.
When contemplating defeat or dropping out and etc., was from Sebastian Kienle, when he said he hates when people drop out because basically they don't want to feel defeat and they don't want to feel the wrath of the person or people who are going to defeat them and annihilate them and humble them. And he said, I mean, I'm now making things up, but this is how I remember it, that, you know, it's disrespectful to those people, that you should feel it. And at the end of the day, to further think about it, I mean, you're just cheating yourself anyway if you drop out and don't feel defeat in its entirety. I mean, the most current example, I would say, is Jan Frodeno, obviously coming in as two-time defending champion in Kona last year, and then basically walking a marathon afterwards as an Olympic gold medalist as well and world record holder. I can't imagine what that defeat feels like, but obviously by actions you see that it changed him right to the very core, because this entire season now has been nothing but vengeance, and I felt the wrath in Oceanside and it drove fear straight into my heart. So yeah, I mean, that right there is a testament to what defeat, when properly you know, accepted and thought about deeply, what it can do for you. Well, actually it's been 3 defeats this year because it's still the calendar year. So Kona second, Oceanside second, Mont-Tremblant second. And Kona, I mean, Kona, that defeat is probably the greatest defeat of my whole career in terms of the motivation, the you know, underlying changes that occurred afterwards. Of course, getting close to your dream, of achieving your dream, you know, you taste it now, you know it, you know deep down that you can do it when you come so close. So that's the positive aspect. But then, you know, you put yourself under such a microscope afterwards, and you look at everything you're doing in its entirety. And when you win, I mean, you don't even really look at yourself. You can't possibly look at yourself when you win. And so that's the beauty of defeat, is it shows you yourself. Oceanside, on the other hand, I mean, I have been waiting for the rematch with Jan for, like, well, since 2015. Basically, it was 3 years pretty much to the day. And that one was much harder to swallow, that defeat, than Kona, just because, you know, I'd hyped this thing up in my head for so long, and then to go and once again have my ass handed to me in all 3 disciplines too, to you know, add insult to injury. That one was really difficult to stomach. But at the end of the day, you know, it's made me a better athlete, because, you know, I tore my position apart. That's one of the things that's come forth from that defeat. And I think my position is looking a lot better. Certainly I'm getting much better speed now off of less power. Not to mention, it just changes you deep inside. You start to say, well, I've become such a better athlete, you know, leading into the race. I was very confident in my ability, and then to get beat in all three disciplines, it sets you back, and you say, well, is that it? Is that all I have? And, you know, the reality is, the answer, I believe, is no. And so what you do the next, you know, once you get over, I guess, the depression that you certainly will feel when you're devoting your life to something, and then someone comes in and defeats you so handily. Once you get over that depression, you know, this new world emerges before you, and you expect more from yourself. And yeah, I think it just kind of hardens you inside, and you will achieve more, because you will expect more, because you saw that someone else could do it better, and thus, why can't I do it better? And so that's what the Oceanside defeat did for me. And then, I mean, I'm still in the coping process of Ironman Mont Tremblant. So, you know, my thoughts and ideas are still very fresh on that race. But, you know, I learned a big lesson, of course, with regards to, you know, for lack of a better term, developing a type of eating disorder, really. There's no other way to describe it. Trying to cut weight leading into a very strenuous event. Rapid weight loss can only come from two things, basically: glycogen depletion and water depletion. And so if you're pretty topped up water-wise, then it has to be glycogen depletion. And glycogen depletion, of course, has water attached to it. And so, I mean, that's a lesson that I didn't really do, because I've never, you know, quite frankly, I've never really thought of myself as a person to care about weight and that sort of thing. But once again, here's what defeat does to you. After Kona, I got passed on the run, and so I got passed by Patrick Lang, who's a beautiful runner, you know, smaller guy than me anyway. And you start saying, well, maybe I need to get small. But, you know, the reality is, my whole career, I've been able to do well on the back of a very hard bike, and being able to run well after biking really, really hard, big power. And so that's who I am. Patrick's got a totally different body type, a totally different race plan than I do. So why are you trying to change your body composition? That's just, it's an eating disorder. That's all there is to it. And so I got rid of that. I took a little foray, a little sidetrack down that pathway, and I learned it in Mont Tremblant. And so, you know, had I won Mont Tremblant, though, would I have looked so deeply at myself and realized this thing? I probably would have kept down the pathway. But in terms of your long-term development, defeat is the absolute best thing that can happen to you, especially when you are achieving or getting close to your limits and devoting yourself to it. And then you get defeated, because then you put yourself under a very, very high-powered microscope. Whereas if you're just kind of half-assing it and stuff, and you get defeated, like, who cares, I'm not training. That's what I said all my high school running career, if I got defeated, because I never gave myself to the sport. But now I'm giving myself to the sport. And so defeat, I know how it goes now. I basically go down approximately a 1-week depression, which I think is natural. I think it would be unnatural if you didn't feel depressed after, you know, suffering a loss in something that you've devoted your life to. So if you have the right perspective, I think defeat is the best thing that can happen to you. And that's the power. That's the power of proper orientation to defeat, coping with it well. Of course, you should be hard on yourself for a little bit, within reason, within bounds. You know, it's unacceptable to make the same mistake twice, to not think about the electrolyte consumption and carbohydrate consumption. A mistake I made in Kona, and then to do it again in Mont Tremblant, just one Ironman later. That's unacceptable. You should be hard on yourself on that, but not too hard. And that's the game we're playing. And at the end of the day, if you can do that right, defeat will be the best thing that ever happens to you.